Imagine walking into a courtroom where everyone thinks they already know the outcome. The prosecutor struts in with a smirk, wearing his badge like it's a shield of invincibility. People whisper about how he never loses, how his connections make him untouchable. But that day, he made one mistake: he dragged the wrong single dad veteran into his courtroom. And what unfolded was a lesson no one there would ever forget. Stick with me until the end of this story, because I promise, it's one that will leave you inspired. And if you believe in stories that reveal the hidden strength inside ordinary people, don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you never miss the next one. It all started when David Miller, a single father of a 12-year-old girl, found himself facing charges he didn't deserve. A simple misunderstanding spiraled out of control after a powerful local official tried to make an example out of him. David wasn't wealthy. He wasn't connected. He was just a man who worked 2 jobs, raising his daughter, Emily, after losing his wife years earlier. But when a mistake at the grocery store led to false accusations of theft and resisting authority, the system tried to break him. And leading the case was none other than Assistant District Attorney Mark Henson, a man who believed his title placed him above accountability. Mark saw David as an easy win, a poor single dad with no legal team, no power, no way to fight back. He walked into the courtroom with arrogance dripping from every word. He mocked David's background, sneered at his military service, and even implied that Emily would be better off in state custody than with her father. To him, David was just another statistic. But what Mark didn't know was that beneath David's quiet demeanor lay years of discipline, knowledge, and a sharp mind honed by service in the army. He had once been more than just a soldier. He had been trained in military intelligence, familiar with law, structure, and strategy. He wasn't about to let a corrupt man strip him of the only thing that mattered, his daughter. The first hearing was brutal. Mark used his power to paint David as reckless and unstable. Witnesses were pressured. Evidence was twisted. People in the courtroom whispered that it was over before it began. Emily sat in the back, tears streaming down her cheeks, clutching the small pendant her mother had given her before she passed. David glanced back at her, and in that moment, his resolve hardened. He wouldn't just fight, he would dismantle every lie. Day after day, David studied court documents, legal precedents, and cross-examined every detail of the case. He had no fancy lawyer, no endless bank account, but he had something Mark didn't expect: patience, clarity, and truth. He started pointing out flaws in testimonies, inconsistencies in reports, and even exposed how some evidence had been conveniently misplaced. The judge began to notice. The jury began to shift uncomfortably. And Mark, once so smug, began to sweat. But the turning point came when David calmly asked to question one of the officers who had testified against him. His voice was steady, his eyes locked on the man in uniform. With surgical precision, he began unraveling the officer's story, pointing out contradictions in time stamps, radio logs, and surveillance footage. By the end of the cross-examination, the courtroom was silent. Everyone realized the truth: David wasn't the criminal, he was the victim of an abuse of power. Mark tried to object, tried to regain control, but David remained unshaken. "With all due respect," David said, his voice echoing in the tense courtroom, "you can't twist the law to break an honest man. My daughter deserves her father. And no badge, no title, no false authority will ever change that." The words struck like thunder. The judge, visibly shaken, finally addressed the room. "Mr. Miller," he said, "it is clear you have been wrongfully accused. This court dismisses all charges effective immediately." Gasps filled the courtroom. Emily rushed into her father's arms, crying, as David held her tightly, whispering, "It's over, sweetheart. We're going home." Mark, pale and humiliated, could only stand frozen. For the first time, the badge that once made him feel untouchable offered no shield. His reputation crumbled that day, while David walked out not just as a free man but as a symbol of resilience and truth. Outside the courthouse, people gathered, applauding the veteran who had stood his ground against corruption. Journalists asked questions, cameras flashed, but David ignored them all. He looked only at Emily, her smile shining brighter than the sun, and knew that everything he had fought for was worth it. And that's the message I want you to take with you: no matter how powerful someone appears, truth has its own strength. One single dad, underestimated and overlooked, proved that courage and integrity can stand against even the most arrogant forms of authority. If this story moved you, imagine how many others it could inspire, so make sure you like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe so you never miss more stories like this. Because in the end, justice isn't about who has the loudest voice, it's about who has the strongest heart.